Today we are here to talk about risk and risk management. Well, what is risk? Risk is an uncertain event which lies in the future, may happen, may not happen, but if it happens, can have its own effect. This effect can be a negative effect, that's how generally we see risk in life, or can have a positive effect. Well, yes, risk can have a positive effect. If you go by the definition that it's an uncertain event which lies in the future and can affect, that effect can be a positive effect or a negative effect. In PMI language, they call positive effect a risk which is leading to a positive effect or resulting in a positive effect is seen as an opportunity, and a risk event which is leading to a certain loss or a damage or a threat or a challenge is seen as a negative risk. Yes, when we identify the risk, we need to go and identify both positive risk and negative risk. We need to enhance the chances of an opportunity, and we need to minimize the causes and chances of the threat happening to minimize their effects, of course. Uh, when we talk about risk management and risk, it's not limited to project and project management. Risk is everywhere. It's a natural phenomena. We all, as individuals, as group of people, as organizations, are always managing risk, both at work as well as in the personal life. Uh, this is not going to be just limited to the projects. But when we talk about the project management and relate to the day-to-day life, we see that we have a phenomena there of risk management. We need to plan risk. Now, as part of the risk management plan, we need to understand what is that we want to achieve. That is the most important thing. Yeah. Once you know what you want to achieve is when you go and identify what can hinder your approach, your progress to achieve that. So the first thing is to plan your risk management. Second, and the most important, is the identification of the risk. Let's go and identify risk. There could be more than one risk in particular approach, in particular project. This risk could be a technical risk, internal risk, external risk, functional, non-functional. You say it and you have it. There are many. We go ahead and generally classify these risks in the risk breakdown structure, which is a kind of affinity diagram. You group the particular risk to the category it belongs. It becomes easier to track and organize and manage them. Third, most important, is that we need to understand that not every risk is as important as the other. Yeah, so we need to go and do some kind of a ranking, some kind of assessment, some kind of analysis to understand which risk is more important over the other. So we do risk analysis, risk assessment. As per PMBOK, there are two types of risk assessments performed. One is the qualitative risk assessment, another one is the quantitative risk assessment. As part of the project management plan tailoring approach, that you can tailor the project management plan and the processes to the need of the project, you can always choose quantitative risk assessment as an optional exercise. The qualitative risk assessment is a mandate exercise, and it cannot be skipped. What is qualitative risk assessment? In simple language, you can call it ranking of risk. In day-to-day life, we say high risk, low risk, medium risk. This is where you are ranking the risk, you're prioritizing the risk, and that's what is done in the qualitative risk assessment. It's a very quick yet effective exercise. It does not require any mathematical calculations or data crunching. You just basically assess the risk based on your experience, based on your knowledge and information, which we do in day-to-day projects. Of course, not all of us go and get involved into number crunching. When you talk about the quantitative risk assessment, well, yes, this is where the difficult part can come in, where you go and sit down the data crunching, use various sophisticated tools, simulate the environments, and then you assess the risk. So you assess the risk numerically and its aggregate effect on the entire project and its objectives, and assign some kind of a number, to see as to what is the value of the risk and its factor. Now we have gone ahead and identified what the risk is. We have gone ahead and done the ranking of the risk. Now it's important to go and see what do we do with those risks. So this is where the response plan comes in. This response plan is there for both positive as well as for the negative risk. The positive risk is nothing but an opportunity. So you have their own set of response plans, such as escalation. Well, some opportunities are beyond your control or beyond your capabilities to manage. So you go and escalate those possibilities or opportunities to the management, and they go and handle it. We take support from them, of course. We go and enhance, we go and exploit, we go ahead and accept, we go and share. These are some of the risk management response plans. These are some of the response plans which are associated with positive risk. You enhance the risk, you exploit the risk, you go ahead and share the risk, you go ahead and accept the risk, and you escalate the risk. Similarly, we have response plans for negative risk. This negative risk, which is threat, can be managed through escalation. Again, there could be certain negative risk or threats that you feel that they are beyond your capabilities to manage. So you go and escalate and seek support on that. You go ahead and accept them. You go ahead and mitigate them. That's a very common risk response we keep hearing in day-to-day life, and sometimes go and transfer the risk, such as an example of outsourcing or buying an insurance to pass on the liability of the risk to a third party, and they manage on your behalf. Yeah, one more I forgot was the avoid risk, of course, wherein you can, in fact, avoid is one of the best responses in managing the negative risk because it eliminates the risk completely. There is no element of the risk left when you choose this response plan, whereas the other response plans might leave certain amount of risk after applying the response as well, and those are called your residual risk or residual risk, whichever way you want to call it. After your response plan, it's important to go and implement those response plan by the respective owners. So yes, when you identify the response plan both for the positive and negative risk, it's always imperative to identify the risk owner as well. These people are the individuals who will go and implement the response plan when they see the risk is occurring. One more important thing when we're talking about assessing the risk, which I missed out earlier, was basically assessing the urgency of the risk. That how soon is the risk going to occur? What is the expected occurrence date? What is the expected due date for the risk to occur? This might change your complete assessment. Some risk which is due to happen in 6 months from now versus a risk which is going to happen in 6 days from now might have its own preference in the assessments and might change the ranking also. So yes, we go ahead and implement the response plan by the respective risk owner, and this is how we go and manage the risk. Most important thing to understand that risk is something not done as one-time exercise, whether it is identification or the assessment. It is an ongoing exercise. You keep identifying the new risk because things change around us. The world is very dynamic. Situations and conditions around us are very dynamic. In project itself, we take a progressive life cycle, so things change. More and more information becomes available. So it's important to go and monitor and see what changed in the course of action. Maybe there are new risks which have been identified or should be identified. What happened to the previously identified risk? As we know in the project, the risk should always trend down, which means a high risk identified in the beginning towards the end should come down to the level of low, I mean, if possible, to bring it down. That's the approach. That's why we identify as early as possible. So you go and monitor the risk as part of the last process, and you go and check what happened to the previously identified risk, what changed there. Is it still a high risk, or has it gone down to medium or low? You identify new risk, and in this course of action, because you're repeating this exercise time and again as a whole risk management exercise, it's also important to improvise in your risk management processes. So you identify based on the lessons learned from the previous exercise, and you implement those as action items so that your process of managing the risk also becomes better and better in the course of project. So yes, friends, that's about risk and risk management in a quick video here. Thank you so much for listening to me and appreciate. See you soon. Take care. Bye bye.